Hello, everyone. Welcome back to our English learning podcast for beginners. I'm your host, and today we're going to talk about something that will completely change the way you speak English forever. My name is Lana Rose. Have you ever been in a conversation with a native English speaker and noticed they looked confused or surprised by something you said, even though you thought your English was perfect? Well, today I'm going to reveal the secret behind those confused looks. We're going to discuss a mistake that literally 90% of non-native English speakers make when speaking English. And here's the shocking part. You probably don't even realize you're doing it. This mistake happens every single day in offices, schools, restaurants, shops, and even in important job interviews around the world. Do you want to know what it is? It's one of those tricky false friends that seems so innocent, so simple, but it sabotages us every single time we use it incorrectly. Today, I'm going to reveal what this huge mistake is and, more importantly, how you can fix it once and for all. If you're here listening to this podcast, it's because you really want to improve your English and sound more natural when you speak. You want people to understand you clearly, and you want to feel confident in every conversation. Well, get ready because today your mind is going to be completely blown. This single mistake that we're going to discuss today is probably costing you opportunities without you even knowing it. It's making you sound less professional, less fluent, and sometimes even changing the entire meaning of what you're trying to say. But don't worry, by the end of this episode, you'll never make this mistake again. So grab a cup of coffee, get comfortable, and let's dive deep into this topic. Trust me, this is going to be one of the most important English lessons you've ever heard. Let's get started. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine this situation. You're sitting in an important international job interview. You've prepared for weeks, your resume is perfect, you're wearing your best clothes, and you're feeling really confident about your English skills. The interviewer asks you about your current job, and you answer with perfect grammar and clear pronunciation. You're feeling great. Then, they ask about your company's current situation. You smile confidently and say something that you think sounds perfectly natural and correct. But suddenly, the interviewer's face changes. They look confused. Maybe they raise their eyebrows a little bit. You notice the change, but you don't understand why. You continue the conversation, but now you're feeling less confident. You start to doubt yourself. And unfortunately, that doubt shows in your voice for the rest of the interview. What happened? You made a mistake that seemed so small, so innocent, but it completely changed how the interviewer perceived your English level. This tiny mistake made you sound less professional and less fluent than you actually are. This exact scenario happens thousands of times every day around the world. In business meetings, casual conversations, presentations, phone calls, and yes, job interviews. Native English speakers hear this mistake so often that they've learned to just accept it and try to understand what the person really means. But it always creates that little moment of confusion. The mistake I'm going to reveal today is responsible for about 80% of the misunderstandings between non-native speakers and native English speakers. It's so common that most English teachers don't even focus on it enough in their lessons. But today, we're going to fix this problem forever. Are you ready to know what this mistake is? It's the incorrect use of the word actually. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying to yourself, but I know what actually means. I use it all the time. And that's exactly the problem. You think you know what it means, but I guarantee you that you've been using it incorrectly in many situations. This is what we call a false friend in language learning. A false friend is a word that looks or sounds similar to a word in your native language, but it has a completely different meaning in English. The problem with actually is that many people translate it directly from their own language, and this translation is almost always wrong. Let me give you some examples of how people think actually should be used. Many students think actually means at this time, or currently, or right now. So they use it in sentences like, actually, I work in a bank, wanting to say they currently work in a bank. Actually, the weather is very hot, wanting to talk about the current weather. Actually, we have many customers, wanting to say they currently have many customers. But here's the shocking truth. Actually does not mean currently or at this time or right now. Never. Not even close. The correct ways to say currently. If actually doesn't mean currently, what words should you use when you want to talk about the present time or current situation? Here are the correct options. Currently, this is the most direct translation, and it's perfect in formal situations. At the moment, neutral, good for any situation. Right now, informal, great for casual conversations. These days, when talking about a current period of time. Nowadays, when comparing the present to the past. At present, very formal, good for business or academic contexts. Presently, formal, but be careful. This can also mean soon. Let me show you how to fix those incorrect examples from earlier. Wrong. Actually, I work in a bank. Correct. Currently, I work in a bank. Or, right now, I work in a bank. Wrong. Actually, the weather is very hot. Correct. Currently, the weather is very hot. Or, right now, the weather is very hot. Wrong. Actually, we have many customers. Correct. Currently, we have many customers. Or, at the moment, we have many customers. The difference is huge. When you use actually incorrectly, you're not just making a grammar mistake. You are completely changing the meaning of your sentence and confusing the person you're talking to. Now, you might be thinking, okay, so it's just one word. Is it really that important? The answer is absolutely yes. This mistake is incredibly dangerous for several reasons, and I'm going to explain each one in detail. Reason 1. It changes the entire meaning of your sentence. When you use actually incorrectly, you're not just making a small grammar error, you're completely changing what your sentence means. This can lead to serious misunderstandings. Let me give you a detailed example. Imagine you're in a business meeting and your boss asks about your current project. You want to say that you currently have 10 clients, but instead you say, "Actually, we have 10 clients." What your boss hears is, "In fact, we have 10 clients," which sounds like you're correcting something he said before, or like you were hiding this information, or like there was some doubt about the number of clients. Your boss might think, "Why is he saying actually? Did I say something wrong about the number of clients? Was there some confusion? Is he correcting me?" Do you see how this creates confusion? You just wanted to give simple information about your current situation, but instead you made it sound like there was some kind of problem or disagreement. Reason 2, it makes you sound defensive or argumentative. When native speakers hear actually used incorrectly, it often sounds defensive or argumentative. This is because actually is frequently used in English when someone wants to disagree or correct someone else. For example, "Actually, I think you're wrong about that." "Actually, that's not what happened." "Actually, I never said that." So when you use actually to start a sentence where you just want to give information, it sounds like you're preparing to argue or disagree even when you're not. Let me tell you about a real situation that happened to one of my students. Her name was Sarah, and she worked for an international company. During team meetings, she would often start her comments with "actually" when she just wanted to share information about her current work. For example, she would say things like, "Actually, I'm working on 3 projects." "Actually, our team finished the report yesterday." "Actually, the client called this morning." Reason 3. It makes you sound less fluent and professional. When you use actually incorrectly, it immediately signals to native speakers that you're still learning English. It's like a big red flag that says, "I'm not fluent yet." This isn't necessarily a bad thing. Everyone is learning, and native speakers are usually very patient and understanding. But in professional situations, like job interviews or business presentations, you want to sound as fluent and confident as possible. Using actually correctly is one of those small details that can make a big difference in how professional and fluent you sound. It's like the difference between wearing a slightly wrinkled shirt or a perfectly ironed shirt to a job interview. The wrinkled shirt doesn't make you a bad person, but the ironed shirt makes a better impression. Reason 4. It can create awkward social situations. In casual social conversations, using actually incorrectly can create awkward moments. Native speakers might not know how to respond because they're confused about why you used actually in that context. Let me give you an example. Imagine you're at a party and someone asks what you do for work. You want to tell them about your current job, so you say, "Actually, I'm a teacher." The person might think, "Why did they say actually? Did they think I assumed they had a different job? Are they correcting something I said? Did I somehow give the impression that they weren't a teacher?" This creates a weird, awkward moment where the person doesn't know how to respond. They might just say, "Oh, okay," and feel confused. Or they might ask, "Actually? Why do you say actually? Did someone tell you that you don't manage campaigns?" The conversation becomes awkward, Carlos loses his confidence, and unfortunately, he didn't get the job. Later, when Carlos told me about the interview, I immediately knew what had happened. That one word, actually, had derailed his entire interview. Situation 2. The business meeting confusion. Another student, Maria, worked for a multinational company. During a video conference with colleagues from different countries, her boss asked about the status of their current sales. Maria wanted to give good news about their current sales numbers. She said, "Actually, our sales are very good this month." Her American colleague responded, "Actually? Why do you say actually? Was there some problem with sales before? Did someone say our sales were bad?" Maria was completely confused. She just wanted to share good news, but instead she had created confusion and made it sound like there had been some previous problem with sales. The meeting became awkward as everyone tried to figure out what Maria meant. Her boss started asking questions about whether there had been sales problems that he didn't know about. Maria felt embarrassed and confused, and the good news she wanted to share got completely lost in the confusion. Situation 3. The social disaster. This story is about a student named Ahmed. He was at a networking event for professionals in his industry. He was trying to make a good impression and meet new contacts. Someone asked him about his current company, and Ahmed said, "Actually, I work for Google." The person immediately responded, "Actually? Why actually? Did I guess wrong about where you work? Did you think I assumed you worked somewhere else?" Ahmed was completely confused. He just wanted to tell the person where he currently worked, but instead he had made it sound like he was correcting some assumption the person had made. The conversation became weird and uncomfortable. The person thought Ahmed was being strange or rude. Ahmed didn't understand what he had done wrong. Instead of making a good networking contact, Ahmed had created an awkward situation that made both people feel uncomfortable. The hidden cost of this mistake. Here's something that many English learners don't realize. When you make this mistake repeatedly, it has a cumulative effect. Each time you use actually incorrectly, you create a small moment of confusion. Over time, these small moments add up. People start to think of you as someone who is difficult to understand, or someone whose English isn't quite fluent, or someone who always seems to be arguing or correcting people. This can hurt your professional relationships, your social relationships, and your opportunities. The scary part is that you might never know this is happening. People are usually too polite to correct you directly. They just feel confused in the moment, then move on. But the impression remains. This is why fixing this mistake is so important. It's not just about grammar. It's about clear communication, professional success, and social relationships. The complete formula to never make this mistake again. Now I'm going to teach you the complete system that I use with my private students to fix this mistake forever. This system works 100% of the time, but you need to practice it consistently for about 2 weeks until it becomes automatic. The 3-step system. Step 1, the mental substitution test. This is the most important step, and it's the one that will save you from making this mistake ever again. Before you say actually in any sentence, stop for just 1 second and ask yourself this question. Am I trying to say in fact, or am I trying to say currently? If your answer is in fact, if you're trying to correct something, contradict something, or reveal surprising information, then actually is the perfect word to use. If your answer is currently, if you're just talking about the present time or current situation, then you should not use actually. Instead, use one of these words: currently, right now, at the moment, these days, nowadays, or at present. Let me give you some detailed examples of how this test works. Example 1. You want to say, actually, I live in New York. Stop and ask, am I trying to say in fact or currently? If you're just telling someone where you currently live, you're trying to say currently. Correct sentence. Currently, I live in New York. Or, right now, I live in New York. Example 2. Someone says, I heard you live in Boston, and you want to correct them. Stop and ask, am I trying to say in fact or currently? You're trying to say in fact because you're correcting wrong information. Correct sentence. Actually, I live in New York. Example 3. You want to say, actually, I'm learning English. Stop and ask, am I trying to say in fact or currently? If you're just talking about what you're doing now, you're trying to say currently. Correct sentence. Currently, I'm learning English. Or, right now, I'm learning English. Example 4. Someone says, you seem to know English perfectly, and you want to tell them you're still learning. Stop and ask, Am I trying to say in fact or currently? You're trying to say in fact because you're correcting their assumption. Correct sentence. Actually, I'm still learning English. Practice this mental test with every single sentence where you want to use actually. At first, it might feel slow and awkward, but after about a week of practice, it will become automatic. Step 2. The context analysis. This step helps you understand exactly when actually is appropriate to use. Actually is used in these specific situations. Situation A, correcting wrong information. When someone says something that isn't true and you want to give the correct information. Examples. Person A, the meeting is at 3 p.m., right? Person B, actually, it's at 4 p.m. Person A, I think Sarah is from Canada. Person B, actually, she's from Australia. Situation B, contradicting expectations. When you want to show that reality is different from what people expect or assume. Examples are, this restaurant looks very expensive, but actually, the prices are quite reasonable. The exam looked very difficult, but actually, it was pretty easy. I thought the book would be boring, but actually, it was fascinating. Situation C. Revealing surprising information. When you want to share information that might surprise the listener. Examples: he looks very young, but actually, he's 45 years old. The company seems small, but actually, they have offices in 20 countries. She seems very quiet, but actually, she's an amazing public speaker. Situation D. Polite disagreement. When you want to disagree with someone's opinion in a polite way. Examples: actually, I think the blue design is better. Actually, I disagree with that approach. Actually, I have a different opinion about this. The biggest mistake: using actually when you mean currently. This changes your entire sentence meaning and confuses native speakers. Remember, actually means in fact. Use it to correct or contradict. For current time, use currently, right now, or at the moment. For the next 2 weeks, before saying actually, ask yourself, am I saying in fact or currently? If it's currently, choose a different word. Week 1, just notice when you use actually. Week 2, start using the correct alternatives. That's it. Simple but powerful. You already have amazing English skills. Now you know how to avoid one mistake that holds many learners back from sounding truly fluent. This episode was made with lots of love for your English learning journey. If it helped you, please give like and leave a comment. I read every single one and love hearing about your progress. Share this with that friend who's also learning English. They probably make this same mistake, and you could help them fix it forever. Thank you so much for these together. Keep practicing, keep improving, and remember, every conversation is a chance to use your new knowledge. Until next time, keep speaking English with confidence. Every mistake is just a stepping stone to fluency. See you in the next episode.